following podcast is a W2M Network original production.
Wait, is one of us recording it? Hold on.
For all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the
need to
worlds
be
of
recording
wrestling,
this on
video
speaker?
games, football, and entertainment.
You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling to the Max.
This is an exclusive.
And guess what? WrestleMania 34 review. That's right. We are excited about this. We are so happy to have all of you with us. We are live on Facebook, everyone. We appreciate you joining us tonight. This is so exciting. This is something brand new that we've never done before, but we're getting things going, and hopefully this is something we continue on a normal basis. I, of course, am Gary Vaughan, and along with me is a
Sean
whole cast
Garmer,
of great guys.
and Paul
with me
Leeser.
is my normal best buddy in the world, Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
Mr. Brandon Biskobing over there.
Hey.
And it's so awesome for the first time, I think, on Wrestling to the Max ever, unless Sean remind me in history. Maybe my brain's dead. But the host of MMA to the Max, Mr. Robert Taylor.
How's everybody doing tonight?
And guys, this is exciting. I am so happy that we're all together tonight. This is, one of the most exciting times if you're a wrestling fan to get into talking about wrestling. I know everybody out there is buzzing about the Universal Championship and all the things that went down with that. Ronda Rousey in her first match in WWE. All the other big things that took place. So that's why we're here tonight, and it's awesome to have an MMA guy here to talk a little bit about, Ronda Rousey being involved in wrestling now and not in the MMA world, and even maybe some Brock Lesnar talk when it comes to the UFC too, with Dana White around and all. So this is so cool. I'm so glad to have everyone here tonight. I want to make sure everybody knows, though, if you're not watching live on Facebook and you're just listening to us through a recap, maybe you're on your way to work, it's Monday morning, and you're just like, I want to hear about WrestleMania, make sure you go find us on W2Mnet.com. Trust me, that's the best place to go find us. And you can watch this video right there. So when you get home, you're like, what do these dudes look like? Well, then you go on W2Mnet.com, hit play, and you'll get exactly what we look like, even if I'm not the prettiest guy. I'm at least here in your face. And, of course, make sure you also go and subscribe, rate, and review over at the W2M Network. I don't care if it's through iTunes, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio. Once you hit that subscribe button, you get all of our great podcasts. Not only Wrestling to the Max, you get MMA to the Max, you get Soccer to the Max, and the whole realm of great podcasts coming to you from W2Mnet.com. Okay, guys. Well, here we are. I mean, Robert, once again, man, I am so glad you're joining us tonight. This is a lot of fun, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me. I know when Rousey was announced to come to WWE, Sean and I were both talking about maybe doing a co-opted show, like a little collaboration between our two shows, but this is just as good.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
Also considering, the ending of this whole WrestleMania may have not proven our theories correct, maybe Lesnar going back to UFC.
Yeah, there you go. So there's lots of trust me, there's plenty of discussions here. So much to get into. So why delay it any further? We've got to start this thing off. And what's wild is that WWE actually had a kickoff show where we may want to talk about some of the matches. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way so we can get into the meat of the show. Let's talk about the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Now, this was a big match for the fact that, it was supposed to be full of different stars. We didn't know who it was, but we got our cast of characters, and in the end, just to kind of fast forward to the whole conclusion of this whole process, we have Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, Woken Matt Hardy involved. And what happens is Mojo and Baron decide that they are going to get down and dirty and beat down Woken Matt Hardy. That all of a sudden interrupts with Bray Wyatt showing up and causing some problems. Mojo is thrown over the top from Bray, basically shoving him into Matt. And then the next thing you know, we get an end of days from Baron Corbin, which leads to the conclusion where we have Matt able to get rid of him. So Woken Matt Hardy won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It was kind of predictable. A lot of people out there I saw predicted Woken Matt Hardy. I was one of those guys. No big shock to anybody or anybody around the wrestling world. Brandon, what did you think about that and the whole match itself?
The one thing that I was a little disappointed in was apparently there were 29 guys that were already announced for the Andre Battle Royal, and there was one open spot. I wish they would have used that spot to maybe either introduce someone new or, bring someone who was, inducted into the Hall of Fame or something like that. Make it a big deal. I don't even know who that 30th spot was used for. But I think most of us who were paying attention to this saw that it was going to be Woken Matt Hardy, and as soon as the music, or as soon as that whole thing hit with the Hardy thing, whatever you want to call it, or not Hardy, Wyatt, thing hit, whatever you want to call it, I saw that coming, that, he was going to come out, help Matt win this Battle Royal. I was kind of hoping to see a Jeff Hardy appearance, but we did not get that. Maybe we'll get that tomorrow night. But I'm perfectly fine with this. I think most of us anticipated that he was going to win this Battle Royal.
What did you think, Robert? I mean, you got a match here where you've really just got a bunch of guys thrown in the ring. There's no big to-do and entrances or anything like that. It's just straight up, hey, everybody's going to get knocked out eventually. I kind of found it boring myself a little bit. I was kind of hoping they were going to have some cool entrances, kind of like Brandon alluded to, maybe some legends coming out. Mm. How did you feel?
Yeah, I feel like it's just it's been a long fall from the very first one that actually had a chance to propel somebody to the top like it was about to with Cesaro. It says a lot about the Andre Battle Royal right now that just, nobody gets entrances anymore. They get shoved out to the ring during a commercial on the network, which is asinine in itself, and just get thrown out there and they do the thing. And nothing's going to come out of it. Nobody's going to get pushed any more than they already are. I think everybody could have predicted the Bray thing. So, I mean, Brother Bray, you have come. And it just seems so obvious from everything. I just wish we could have got something more out of it, something more entertaining, something surprising, exciting. I'm going to say what you will about Mojo Rawley winning. At least the Gronk interference and assistance did something. I mean, it was entertaining. It made mainstream news. So,
yeah, definitely. It's
not even just that, but also the fact that, whereas the second hour was on USA, so maybe some of the casuals who may have been iffy about tuning into WrestleMania saw it. Only the truly hardcore fans who knew they were going to tune in from the very get-go even saw this match.
Yeah, that's true. And once again, I mean, I just kind of felt like it was just there, and they needed time to fill. I mean, Sean, you probably felt the same way because it was just kind of just a jumbled mess, honestly.
I'm still trying to figure out where I am centered on this camera doing this video thing. It's not always the greatest thing. It also doesn't help when I'm using a microphone where I have to bend down to talk into it. But, the Battle Royal thing, a lot of times I just I'm halfway watching it until we get to the final 4 or 5 or whatever, because it's not even like the Royal Rumble where, you're kind of interested because of the countdown clock and who's going to be in it and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, as soon as you got to like the final 3, you're going, I hope to God they're picking Matt Hardy, because I don't want to see either one of those two guys win again and make this feel even less important than it already does.
That's honestly how I felt about this too, where it was like, I didn't really care about it until the very end, and like Sean said, it didn't. Once you got to those final 3, you were like, I don't want a repeat champion.
Yeah. I think all of us have kind of said it. This is really just a situation where it's a start of a show. They get something going with a lot of superstars. Woken Matt Hardy is pretty popular right now. Him getting the victory, no big surprise. It's there. There you go. Nothing's going to come of it.
Didn't mean for that to go through.
I was like, "Whoa!" He talked without his mouth moving. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to
That's weird.
trying to share the video around. So it may look like I'm not paying attention, but I'm trying to share it around and multitask it. So
yeah. So hey, I just trust me, people. As you watch us throughout the night, all four of us will be looking off camera because we're all trying to work and make the show good for you guys. So that's what you're going to be seeing, and it is what it is. So let's move on past the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. We spoke of weight probably more than we needed to do about it. Let's talk about the Cruiserweight Championship match that came up next. Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. What was going to happen here? Was Cedric Alexander actually going to finally reach that moment of greatness, or was he going to fall once again and not capture the gold? Well, he's able to do it finally. He actually gained it with a match that I would say was fairly entertaining. I mean, these two guys are really talented. If you would say they're probably some of the best cruiserweights right now in that division. There's plenty of other ones, but I still qualify Cedric Alexander as one of the better ones. Mustafa Ali, I'm over the moon for. I mean, Robert, what did you think about that match? I think it was a nice pick-me-up after the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
I wish the crowd liked it as much as I did. I was thoroughly entertained, though, from start to finish. I mean, Cedric is always one of my favorites to watch, but the change in attire and style that they did for Mustafa Ali just really set the tempo for that match, in my opinion. His entrance, just from the get-go, was just made me even more excited than I already was for the match.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean, Sean, as you watched that, did you feel like, you got what you expected out of it?
I will say I love the Sub-Zero shout out from Mustafa Ali there as a gaming fan.
Yeah.
It certainly helps there. I think it's cool that at least they got to be on the pre-show, right? Because, normally you would complain about that, but you got to think about it with WrestleMania being as long as it is. Somebody's got to go somewhere. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I just think it's a microcosm of the whole cruiserweight thing, right? Even though the show has gotten better, I think the crowds are still indifferent to it. Mm-hmm. So you've got to do something to get the crowds caring about it, and even with the different type of crowd that you have at WrestleMania, I think they're still feeling the same way.
And you got to give them the understanding that, let's be honest, people are still trickling in. They're still trying to find their seats and do things like that. But I will say, even though that was the case, I don't think that they got the love that they should have deserved. I don't know. I just think that they didn't really know what to think. And, Brandon, you cover 205 Live every single week. You cover these guys, and the ins and outs kind of the Cruiserweight division. It seems like they do get undervalued sometimes, even by the audience.
I definitely agree with you there. Especially considering the storyline that was built up for these guys, considering the tournament, and considering a few of the other storylines going into this, especially one in particular. I know they're trying to push this whole diva or this whole women's revolution thing and all of that, and they're trying to make the women's division feel more important than it is at certain times. But considering how the match should have gone, it didn't go the way it should have gone tonight. But the women's match, the Raw Women's Championship match, should have been the match on the pre-show instead of the Cruiserweight match. Because that should have been a pure-on squash with Nia Jax just completely squashing her and finishing it very simply. And, they could have done this whole thing with Be a Star and all of that. and could have really used it to push that whole project that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the cruiserweight match should have gotten a lot more push and a lot more time than it did.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it's a situation where it's kind of still an uphill battle. They're still getting used to the cruiserweights, and I think that the fans are going to have to work their way around and getting used to having that division. It's still, I would say, early.
Well, let me just say this. I will say this, and I'll talk about this a hell of a lot more later on in the show. But this was definitely a situation of Vince McMahon basically saying a one giant final F you to all of the fans and to Triple H before he left.
Well, when we get into the next matchup, I'll definitely possibly agree with you because I think it's kind of funny what they did and why it's on the pre-show. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I think in the end here, I would and sum it up by just saying both guys involved in that matchup were really talented. It showed throughout the match. It wasn't the All-Star Classic, maybe you could have 5 or 4 stars or anything, but I still think it was a really solid match. I think it entertained the fans, at least the ones that wanted to pay attention. And I'm happy for Cedric Alexander. It does conclude a storyline that they've been trying to get across, that he's the guy that's never reached the pinnacle, and he finally does it. It's WrestleMania pre-show, but he still, did it at WrestleMania. It still kind of counts. So,
yep. It counts to me.
Yeah. I want to point out real quick on the Aaron Frame is saying cruiserweights aren't over.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, your biggest guy on your main show is a cruiserweight by WWE standards.
Oh, so. No, I'm not saying it. Aaron Frame is. I was just looking at the comments on the video, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad Aaron said that because they're not over. Because it's just kind of not working out the way that we all, I guess to say the guys and gals out there that do like the cruiserweights wanted it to be, right? I'm a big WCW guy, always been a big WCW guy. I love the cruiserweights. It was one of my favorite parts of watching Nitro every week. I would love to get back in that realm of having it where it was once upon a time in 1997, 98, all this kind of thing.
Or even New Japan with all of the juniors.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the juniors in New Japan are not like anywhere near the same of.
But they actually have
the way they're thought of as the heavyweights.
And they're treated equally.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, there are two definite separations there. But I understand. So that's a whole nother topic. Let's stay on WrestleMania. Let's move on, though, to the other match that we had that was the last of the kickoff matches, and that was the women's WrestleMania Battle Royal. Yeah, it's supposed to be the Moolah thing, but they don't talk about that. Snickers will be mangry.
You didn't need to even mention it, Gary. Somebody's going to get very upset now.
Hey,
I still don't see the big deal.
Or the certain body part trophy tournament.
I mean, I would have been okay with the Missy Hyatt Battle Royal. So.
There you go. I mean, no, I won't stay on that.
I was Major Guns Memorial Battle Royal. I don't care.
Yeah, it is what it is. But what we got here, though, guys, is once again, I hate to be this way, but they kind of just all of a sudden they start out by having Becky Lynch come out with this entrance, and that's great. Good job, Becky Lynch. You got your intro. That's great. But then all of a sudden, here's the rest of the ladies. And they just kind of all come out, and including all the NXT girls involved. And then, guess what? Who gets another entrance? Well, Bayley gets one. I can't remember. I think Sasha got one, too, if I can remember. But a little bit more theatrics than the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but not much more.
Well, imagine if they would have given everybody an entrance.
I totally...
It would be taking forever.
Yeah,
so.
well...
I just really wanted an iconic duo entrance because I really like Billie Kay's entrance music.
Yes, me and you, Robert, are on that same page. I wish that could have happened, but it's NXT; they don't matter. So anyway, what we get here, though, guys,
as
is
evident by results later in the show.
Exactly. What we get here is a battle royal as usual. The one thing that I thought was cool is they did highlight the NXT gals and really did try to pay homage to them in a way by letting them stand in the middle of the ring and do the NXT thing, chant, but then followed ensue. They all got rid of. They were all taken care of. And then the next thing you know, the last people we have in the ring is Sasha and Bayley. Once again, big surprise. Whoop-de-doo. I think everybody predicted that. So it seems like if you're, in a tournament of some sort, or you're in some kind of money-making thing, you're doing pretty good right now. But, here we are, and Bayley doesn't really do anything surprising here because she does eliminate Sasha. We kind of expected one or the other. Bayley thinks that she won. She's totally sure that she won. Guess what? Naomi was never eliminated. A one rear view and then a toss over that rope, and guess what? Naomi wins your WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. So I'm just being honest, Sean. I wasn't super enthralled. I was really wanting this to be great. I just was not happy.
It kind of just because it came down to the expected, right? So it's just kind of like, all right, I thought you would get somebody different to win, somebody from NXT that maybe just that's their official call up by winning, kind of like Baron Corbin, and it didn't happen here. So I get it. They also sort of wanted to play off the Bayley and Sasha thing as well that they've been doing all year, kind of. But I don't know. I thought it was a better battle royal than the men's, but I don't know if that's saying a whole lot either.
Robert, would you agree with that?
I guess. I don't get the infatuation this company has with Naomi. In that sense, I thought the ending of what they, the fake ending with the Bayley winning like that by throwing Sasha would have been perfect for the story. I guess WrestleMania was moved to February, but bring on the hate. But yeah, no, I wasn't a fan of the ending. I think it diminishes the story that Sasha and Bayley have been telling. That would have been progressed through this ending if it ended the way it looked like it was going to end.
Exactly. I think you have a way better storyline, and it's a situation where now, what does really Naomi gather and gain out of this? And it, like you said, it diminishes that storyline a little bit, and that's kind of a bummer. Brandon, for Naomi, I guess you got to be happy she gets that on her little inscription on Wikipedia. But outside of that, what does this really matter, and what do you think?
I'm gonna kind of disagree with Robert here because, when they had that whole thing between Sasha and Bayley where they were facing off and whatnot, and then Bayley won pretty quickly, I was like, is that really gonna be their climax to this whole feud? And then Naomi was there to, kind of pick up the pieces and win. And I was like, okay, Naomi wins. Granted, it's a big drop from what she had last year, but she still gets at least a fairly big WrestleMania moment. 2 years in a row. It still keeps her strong on SmackDown, while not completely giving away that whole finish to Bayley and Sasha. So, I'm okay with how they handled it. Could they have handled it better? Obviously. But, I'm okay with how they handle it.
Mm-hmm. At the end, did you feel the glow?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I think that's the most important thing for all of us here, as long as we felt the glow.
That's the most important thing for WWE as well. They want everybody to feel the glow.
Yes, that's
she
right.
glows, Gary. That's why she wins.
Yeah.
What is the glow?
It's on Netflix. You should check it out.
The neon colors, man. Feel it.
And despite of how many people hate it, I actually personally like the fact that Naomi actually had a personalized title. for once.
Yeah. But she made it, and then a month later, she lost it.
Yeah, I don't like that part.
But my kid could have made that title on like a DIY YouTube website or something. I mean, it wasn't very impressive.
I agree with you, but hey, it's better than the fact that, when's the last time we had a personalized title? A very crappy version of just the spinner belt turned upside down in 2011.
Yeah, I guess so. That's yeah. I get your. I'm thinking the hardcore championship right now. I'm just imagining how I would love to have that one. That was a beautiful.
Yes, I agree. But I've already relegated myself to not believing that TV14 will ever come back, and I've just relegated myself to just admitting defeat on that.
Yeah, that's dead. That's gone with the some of the other things. Yeah,
Gone with
the better portions of WWE that will never return.
Yeah, sadly,
you can share this on Twitter.
Well, there you go. Look at there. Now we learned something new during the show. So now that you learned that we can use this on Twitter, we are going to move to the main portion of the show and get into some of the big matches that I'm really curious if you guys enjoyed or really didn't. Let's start out by talking about the first match on the show, and that was the Intercontinental Championship match, this three-way match where it was a triple threat of Miz, the champ at the time, and then you got Seth Rollins and Finn Balor added in. This was, I think, a pretty decent way to start the show. I think these guys put a lot of effort into it. You could definitely tell that they came prepared. I would not say it was over the top wonderful. I think it was good. Like I said, I was very entertained, and the crowd seemed to enjoy it. We got the awesome chant, so they must have actually really felt really good about it. In the end, though, we got Seth Rollins walking away with that Intercontinental title. Sean, what did you think about that whole thing in the match?
Well, I enjoyed the match. I think it was a really nice opener. I like the fact that they didn't use a triple threat formula. They tried a lot of different ways to involve all three guys at the same time, whether it's combo moves or, okay, this guy's doing something and the other one's, the big Tower of Doom spot, they did that well. The Miz doing his finisher and then having Balor come off the top with the coup de grace was awesome as well. I thought that was actually, I thought they'd do it later in the show, so I'm glad that they picked that match to open. It got the crowd fired up. Rollins got to, get the Grand Slam, and good moment for everyone to start it off.
I agree. I looked at it and I thought to myself, it was just, it really felt good coming into the show. Brandon, as you watched it, did you feel like it lived up to what you wanted it to live up to?
As I was watching it, yes, definitely. But let me just say, this was the high before the fall. This was the high point of the show before everything came crashing down upon us.
And it hurts inside.
Yes.
I was going to say.
Like that.
You can't say crashing down without ending with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know this. But this was
Hi, dog.
Yes, dog.
Titus O'Neil has joined us tonight, so I just want to make sure everybody gives him some love.
This was the match that was the high point of the show, and kind of.
Do you have a Terminator in your house? That's
awesome.
Is Woofy okay? Is Woofy fine?
Go ahead. I'm gonna mute my mic, and then I'll get the dog.
All right, there you go. Oh man. So what did you think, Robert?
First and foremost, it's WrestleMania, and Finn Balor's not coming out in the demon look. And
that was surprising to me.
Yeah, it was absolute, especially when you had him come out last. It just, yeah, surprising. Well, how the hell do you have it WrestleMania and you don't have the demon?
Well, I will say this. Two things about that. one, they really didn't push it to where, it warranted the demon, and two, it kind of telegraphed the ending.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
that would be a good point. If the demon did come out, then yeah, you'd absolutely either have to have him win or risk the demon losing at his first WrestleMania in that sense. So yeah, I mean, you kind of should have figured that Finn wasn't going to win with the demon not showing up. So I agree with Brandon on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where you want to see those grand entrances, right? This is WrestleMania. They put all the money into those entrances, and that's the one you would definitely want to see, the demon, all that great stuff. And I agree. They did something different, though. They had him do an entrance with the LGBT group, right? So they were using him in a different form, right?
Which I personally hate.
The Gaylor Club.
Considering
the Gaylor Club. Listen, I know why they did it, okay? I'm going to be honest with you, because I think, I'll mention it later, where I think it really would fit in well. But right now I said, I get it. I mean, the guy is super hot. He was an underwear model, right? So if you deal with the rainbow colors, he's the guy to have it on, right? I mean, I'm sure members of that group would thoroughly enjoy seeing him wear their colors.
Have you heard the rumors about that?
No, I'm not.
Apparently, Stephanie wants to turn him into a gay character.
Oh my God!
It's the Irish
again.
They don't like the Irish accent there over in the McMahon family. They prefer them to be the only.
Well, I'll talk about this later, but foreigners, please stay away from WWE. Please, at all costs. Please, no matter how much money they throw at you, please stay away.
Gee, I can't wait till I go to high school, Billy. Don't ever say that again. Stay
Yeah.
where you are as long as you can.
Stay away.
Oh my God. Oh, but here we are. In the grand scheme of things, we can get past that. But let's talk about the fact that, yes, Seth Rollins is the champion here. Does anyone have any objections to that? Because they seem to be doing some kind of plan here. And I'm going to throw out the scenario that I feel like is why they've done this. And they've already kind of reported it in a way. Seth Rollins gets the IC title. But there's also rumors about the big trade where he goes to SmackDown and becomes a big deal over there. Maybe not the champ, but he still gets to become a big deal over there. And maybe they trade the U.S. title over to Raw. I don't know. But there's many different thought processes in this. Do you think Seth Rollins being the champ is something that you feel is okay? Or do you kind of hate it? I'm just kind of curious. Does anybody have a strong opinion?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I like Seth Rollins. All depends upon where AJ ends up. With him winning, obviously that means that he's probably staying on SmackDown, which is disappointing. I'll talk about that later. But if what should have happened, then it would have made sense entirely. Seth gets traded to SmackDown. Whoever has the Raw or whoever has the U.S. title gets traded to Raw. AJ gets traded to Raw, and AJ and Finn could have feuded. But at this point, then it makes absolutely zero sense, and like I said, I'm not going to give too much away. I'll talk about this later, but this show made absolutely zero sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you have Seth Rollins as your IC champ, and I don't think it's so bad. Personally, I think.
This match I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I'm okay with it, but I don't love it. What I'm saying is, I would prefer Finn Balor right now wearing that title, wearing rainbow colors or not. But it is what it is. So. Well, I mean, if anybody else has anything else to say, to the time. Otherwise, we're going to move on. And we are going to
Sean, Mr. Quiet.
Yeah, Sean's being really quiet tonight.
Mr. W2M.
Yeah.
I
Sean, you need to talk about this next match because I think it's one that you actually do have some invested time in, and that is the SmackDown Women's Championship match with Charlotte coming out in golden fashion. Anybody get a kick out of that? Coming out in a pretty awesome entrance, if you ask me. And then you have Asuka coming out, and they have a little match here where you felt like it could be, Asuka finally, putting down the queen herself, but it doesn't happen. For the first time ever, Asuka loses a match. The streak is over, Sean. It's done. Charlotte wins. She retains her title.
Don't know if you guys are hearing me at all.
Oh yeah, we hear you just fine.
We can hear you, sir. But
I think people been having mic problems, so I'm sorry.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
But yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Okay. While Sean's figuring things out, Robert, what did you think about this and Asuka's first loss?
It reminded me of a scene from Fight Club when he talks about Tyler Durden being his most interesting single-serve friend because he's flying all over the place. And he's like, well, see, I call him single-serve friend, and Durden says, no, I got it. It's clever. And he's like, yeah, it's clever. How's that working out for you? He's like, what? He's like, being clever. It's working out pretty well. He's like, well, keep it up then. I feel like that's a conversation Vince McMahon's having with somebody because I'm almost guaranteeing the only reason he ended this streak is because he thought he was so clever to be like, hey, look at me, I'm going to end 2 really important streaks in our company in the same building.
No. I'll agree with you somewhat. I agree with that point. But also, considering what else happened at the same show later on in the night, this is very, very distinctly, this is just Vince McMahon xenophobia at its finest. And that is all.
Very possible. Very possible. I mean, we've seen, what he's been about previously.
There is no reason within anyone's right mind that Asuka should have lost her streak before winning a title other than Vince McMahon's xenophobic, oh, she's Japanese, she can't talk, therefore we're going to finish this streak and then throw her into the lower mid-card and she will never be seen again. I am calling it right now. You will not see her in any legitimate role within the next 6 months.
Well, until Vince goes over to that little football thing he likes to talk about right now.
Yes, of course. Until Triple H actually takes over and then everything gets right.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, but that's what I said. I said it on the group. If you're not a part of it, you can go join our group. But I will say this again, and I'm disappointed. Gary, you heard me earlier this week. I said tag teams only. But I was wrong. I'll admit it. Tag teams and women, stay away from the main roster until Vince McMahon leaves the company, or else you are screwed. Simple as that. That is all.
Oh man, Brandon has all the definitely the words for the people. I'm trying to think of the disclaimer out there, so he's putting out that for everyone. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I kind of feel weird about it because I was really hoping that Asuka held it a little longer. I wasn't really sure Ronda Rousey was who I wanted to beat her, unless Ronda Rousey got really good at wrestling. I kind of feel good of that. Someone who's been in the business for a while was the one who beat Asuka. But yeah, I don't know.
I was honestly anticipating if they were gonna have her lose tonight, that it was kind of. I hate to say this, but I was hoping that the reason why they were having her lose tonight was because Ronda was gonna completely suck tonight, but she didn't. But we'll talk about that later. But all women in tag teams, stay away from the main roster, please. For my
I think we're overblowing that a little bit too much.
No, Sean, we're not.
Okay, again, I'm going to say this on my part here that, look, I'm not a big fan of what happened with Asuka not winning. We can say it's xenophobia or whatever. If it was so bad about xenophobia, they would never win. But they do win. They do win titles.
Just not at WrestleMania.
Not always at WrestleMania.
When?
But it doesn't, like, maybe that's not the story they wanted to tell. And we've seen this before where they don't have these magical moments at WrestleMania for everybody anymore.
It doesn't matter when you win the titles.
They don't, yeah, exactly. They don't have these, like, everybody have a huge moment at WrestleMania thing anymore. It's certain people on a certain night. Like, it's the same reason why the Nakamura match is the way it was. It was also that you don't overdo it for Roman and Brock and everybody else. You can't have this big match that overshadows the match that they wanted, right? So,
well, I mean,
look,
in those terms, though, you can have like a really average match and still overshadow the main events, at least in these instances.
But my main problem with it was that why did Asuka have to hug Charlotte afterwards? Like, she just lost this big streak. Why can't she be upset about the fact that she lost the streak? She doesn't have to, like, go hit Charlotte or whatever, but be internally upset. Show that you're upset.
She should have. If you're going to end the streak, at least have Asuka say, you know what, screw you, screw Vince, screw everyone. I'm going to attack everyone and become Samoa Joe of the WWE Women's Division. And basically say, screw everyone.
But she already does that without having to be the...
But make it even more so. Make her the Roman Reigns, the reverse Roman Reigns of the women's division, where all the smarks who are in on the action know to cheer her, but all the marks say screw her.
Yeah, Sean, I'm looking in and thinking about this, and I agree with what you're saying here. And the one thing I want to make sure that people understand is that if you've been watching Mixed Match Challenge, that streak was very important to Asuka. She made it a clear deal to Miz several times in that whole thing, and made a point that people knew that the streak was alive and that she was going to keep it going. And maybe we should have read between the lines and saw this happening, because guess what? Charlotte and Asuka had a match at the last Mixed Match Challenge. It was a tag match, but they still got in the ring and they fought, and it was Asuka who got the victory. So now with that whole thing flipping, figure eight happens and tap out, Asuka's looking at a new situation here, and I hope it's not where Brandon's saying it is, where mid-card and all that kind of stuff. But
I'm calling it right now.
I know. You're calling it, but I'm hoping it's
Didn't
not.
they do this before, though, with, I think it was Charlotte's streak, where they ended it before we all thought it would? WWE just has this thing where they don't make the streak go on until the point where, you think it's going to. They always want to end it before, so that maybe it is about, like Randy says, the pressure being off, or just so they can...
look at where Charlotte has gone.
Well,
Charlotte's
fine.
Charlotte's fine. She's
a showcase.
Wait, actually, from what Brandon was saying, like, stay away, women, unless you're a second generation daughter of the greatest world champion of.
Precisely.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Liz brought up a good point too. What if Carmella cashes in on Tuesday? She would have cashed in on Asuka, and that would have made it even worse.
I wanted her to cash in on Asuka after Asuka won tonight.
I wanted her to cash in on Charlotte tonight, just to basically say screw you.
Yeah, I think Liz has a good point, though, because think about this. To SmackDown being the last show in New Orleans this week, that'd be huge. Maybe it's the last thing that they do in the show. Carmella's the new champ. Wouldn't mind it, honestly. It'd be nice. So there's a lot to this, guys, and I think, the big point here is Asuka losing. unexpected, but the positive thing coming out, I guess, is that pressure is off now, and no longer do we have to sit here and say, "Oh, it's predictable." It's predictable. Now we can say, "Well, Asuka can lose," so that's a good. And not only that, Charlotte just got bumped up another level. Positive things, if you ask me.
Yeah, she totally needed it.
She didn't need it, but I mean, I'll be honest too. That SmackDown Women's Championship isn't always the most glaring thing for people, right? And not saying the Raw Women's Championship is either, but I just don't think that Charlotte exactly got it over to the point where they want it, and they want it to be a big deal. So now they're going to push it even further. So it is, once, like I said, Charlotte will have it now, and then it'll be somebody else a little bit later. Ronda Rousey, if she gets really good, Charlotte will be a whatever. So
I get the fact of I get that Charlotte, she deserves to be the one to end the streak.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just forewarning all of you that I just do not see anything good coming out of this. Okay. I do not see Asuka still going after the title.
Yeah. Well, I once again, I hope you're wrong, Brandon. I really hope you're wrong. Well, let's talk about something that I think that you're going to really get excited about, and that's Rusev Day. Yeah, that's right. It's Rusev Day, guys. WrestleMania second. First is Rusev Day. We had him in a match tonight. Yeah, that's right. He took on Randy Orton, and, of course, we had Bobby Roode along with the one guy that I think a lot of us were curious if he was going to get it, but he did. Jinder Mahal. We had this match go on, and it's a pretty decent match. This is a U.S. Championship match that I think a lot of us were kind of like, could be good, could be middle of the road. I think it landed a little bit maybe in the middle. But in the long run here, we have, I think, a Samir Singh get involved and really mess things up for everybody else. But Jinder walks away as your U.S. champion here at WrestleMania. I see the storyline already. It's just a lower title. Same thing we got last time, a lower title. What do you think about this, Robert?
My initial thoughts were, and I actually had these thoughts when we were watching the match, is I was thinking that they were going to give it to Jinder just only for the sake of proving that his push last year wasn't a failure.
Uh-huh.
I personally believe that he was only given the title to just try to tell all the naysayers that, hey, no, he wasn't just pushed, just to push him and all that. No, we're going to keep pushing him. I seriously think that's the reason they give it to him. Otherwise, there's no other reason. I laughed with the, don't hinder Jinder and the Jinderella story, hashtags and everything like that, but he was the least over guy in the match. So, to me, that's the only reason. I think we
also got to remember where they're going to in not too long. They're going to Saudi Arabia, having a guy. I mean, look, there's time between now and April 27th, right? So anything could change. They could have just given it to Jinder so that if you have a call-up happen on Tuesday, maybe he has a U.S. title challenge or something on Tuesday, and that call-up beats him. And that could happen too. And they just put it on Jinder so that
considering he's a heel, though, I highly doubt that will happen. But I agree with Robert here. This was just them kind of trying successfully, might I add, them trying to prove that the Jinder push wasn't a failure. Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was. And you just completely took all of the air out of the whole entire crowd and basically told the entire crowd, yeah, this may have been the most stacked card in WrestleMania history, or at least in recent WrestleMania history, but this still is Vince's show, and still, screw you. Yeah, we're just going to screw you throughout the whole night, so you don't even have to have your hopes up. Mm-hmm. And it completely took the air out of the whole entire crowd. And yeah, WWE basically said screw you to everyone, and the rest of the card was just that. No one cared because the rest of the card, everyone was like, we're gonna get screwed for the rest of the card. So why do we care?
Mm-hmm. You know, I think what we got here was a situation where all four guys really could have walked away and, looked in the mirror and said, do I deserve to be in this match? I think so. I think all those guys kind of deserve to be in the U.S. Championship match. But who walks away the best? And it wasn't the winner, because I thought Rusev would have been the guy that would have been really big with that title. It would have been so much fun just to see him and Aiden English with the U.S. title, see the jokes, see the things that they do, because let's be honest, there's a reason they're over. People care about Rusev Day because they're entertaining. Jinder is just going to come out and do the same shtick, and then, well, we're going to get the same old same. So that's what concerns me in this whole thing. I just kind of, we're all going to go to sleep on it. And trust me, I felt like I wanted to at times watching Jinder. I will say, though, Aiden English, got to give him props. That was a nice little rap kind of thing he did there at the beginning. Even if it wasn't intended, it was a great little lyrical feat that he did there.
Aiden English is a treasure. He's a treasure. Yeah. The man is great.
Yeah, and he married into royalty. So
I think that too. But it's just with Rusev, it's like any other person that gets over when it wasn't necessarily intended, right? Ty Dillinger, any other, Daniel Bryan for a long while. It was,
the fans really forced their hands.
Hey, we didn't really have a plan for this guy. He got over. We don't necessarily want to go in that direction. We're not going to feed into that, even though you should, right? If the fans are really digging this guy, let's go after that. But I don't know why it's always let's push against the grain. That seems to be the problem with a lot of what we see on the show too.
The issue is that the fans, Daniel Bryan is the prototype at this point. The fans really need to really fully force their hands. They need to completely hijack the shows and say, we will not stop until you give us what we want, or else, you're going to have some wars on your hands. And
but that's not going to happen, though.
That's what happened with Daniel.
I think for every Daniel Bryan or maybe a Johnny Gargano, Rusev, I don't think is up to that level. I think I
agree with that.
People like his gimmick. People like doing the Rusev Day thing. People like doing the 10 thing. Hey, you know what? He does it better than Ricky Steamboat's son ever tried to do.
Oh, boy, yeah.
That is debatable because of the back injury. You never know what that kid could have become.
I don't know about that.
That's for the next episode, though.
Yeah, him and David Flair really just messed out, man.
Well, now we're bringing David Flair into this.
Yeah, so.
I think Randy summed it up there. Rusev is over. He'll still be over on Tuesday. Doesn't need to win.
Exactly. He doesn't need to.
He didn't need to win, but did Rusev. That was my thing. It came back to my point that they're going to India and all that, or whatever they're going. But I still feel like it was just because they wanted to prove that, oh, no, we're not done pushing him. That push wasn't a mistake.
Yeah. Agreed.
So.
Yeah, well, there you go. Jinder Mahal is your U.S. champion. Let's see where the pieces fall from here. Let's move on, though, to another match. And this is one that's one of the bigger attractions. This is one of the reasons why a lot of non-WBE fans were watching. This is also why people don't even care about wrestling in general. We're tuning in, and that was because Ronda Rousey, that's right, she was involved in a wrestling match. And so we get a match between Triple H and Stephanie versus Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey. And we get a big, gigantic, normal, extravagant Triple H entrance. So him and Stephanie coming down on the motorcycles. Very, what's up?
Tricycles.
Oh, tricycle. There you go. Tricycle. Yeah. Correction. Good job. But anyway, they come out. That's right. The chopper. Get into the... No, almost. And they spit water. They do all this stuff, and it's just a grand entrance. And then Kurt Angle comes out, normal "you suck" stuff, and then Ronda Rousey makes her appearance, and people do get pretty up on that. You heard the roar of the crowd. That was kind of neat to see.
And she looked she looked hot.
Yeah.
I've never found her.
She made
I've never
that,
found her personally attractive, but she looked hot.
You know what it is for me? And maybe the appearance, but it was also the Roddy Piper feel to it. I wanted to have a tear. I love Roddy Piper. So I still love the gimmick that she's pulling off as the
Wait, are you
protege.
trying to say that, the Roddy Piper stuff made you get hot and bothered there?
I plead the fifth. Anyway. I'm kidding. No. I'm married. So anyway.
The kilt worked. She made the kilt. She put that over way more than Roddy Piper would have.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Way more than some of the girls that work at the Tilted Kilt in my area. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You should take a picture and say, "Hey, do better."
Yeah, this is what you should look like.
Really, you're gonna bring up that, Jim?
Oh man. So let's get into the match before we get all the hate from Twitter. Let's go ahead and talk about this match in general. And Robert, I'm going to start with you again, man, because you followed Ronda Rousey for a long time. You are the MMA guy. I got to know what your thoughts are seeing her transition from that world to this world.
I thought she did fantastic, actually. Better than I was expecting, but better than I was hoping, at least, too. I mean, I was hoping for her to succeed. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see her not just succeed, but exceed all the expectations. It was absolutely ridiculous how good she was able to control her emotions during the match, because as anybody that's seen her in her appearances before, she had trouble controlling those emotions every time she was in the ring or walking down the ramp. So, yeah, the look, the attitude, and her timing on everything was absolutely perfect for somebody in her position. First match, WrestleMania, no experience whatsoever. You could just tell that this was a lifelong dream and that she was a big fan. And I am a little disappointed that my prediction and hope of Dana White turning on her and costing her the match didn't come true. So.
Oh, yeah, that would have been great.
No.
Brandon, I mean, what are your thoughts then? What do you think should have happened, or were you happy with the result?
I was perfectly happy with the result. Robert and I were talking about it on the chat before the match and after the previous match with the U.S. title match, and then before that with the women's title match. But, considering those two, you were almost half expecting it to be like, oh God, we're going down this route. The McMahons are going to win. They're going to screw everyone and say, screw you to everyone that was in attendance. And, yeah. They were basically going to say, yeah, this is the greatest WrestleMania on paper, but you know what? Screw you. We're going to destroy all of that. And, I was half expecting that. But luckily, we did not get that. And Ronda Rousey wins and actually shows that she's competent in the ring, which I was happily surprised about. The big key for this, yes, this match was great. In and of itself, just looking at it purely on its own, this was a great match for Ronda Rousey and for Kurt Angle. But moving forward, especially considering the precedent that has been set by Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey needs to show up on a regular basis, and I don't just mean every other week. I mean every single week, and needs to actually wrestle on TV every single week, or else the fans will turn on you very quickly.
Yeah.
If that happens, then she's perfectly fine, because she proved herself tonight that she can handle herself in the ring and she can learn. If not, then the fans will turn on you very quickly and you will be gone within 6 months.
Wow, that's a pretty hefty contract to drop somebody in 6 months. But I understand where you're coming from.
Don't think she's going to go anywhere considering.
Did you see her interview?
Which one are we speaking of?
She said that she's in WWE to have fun, and if she's not having fun, she will leave.
Yeah. They'll make sure she has fun. Trust me, she'll be left crayons.
If the fans turn on her, she will not be having fun.
Yeah. Trust me.
I mean, there's ways to turn that around, right? You can learn how to have fun being a heel and loving that the fans hate you. I think we're being a little bit too literal with this stuff.
I feel the way that she's pushing her, they're trying to push her as a face.
Yeah. I mean, they want her to be a big deal. She's already a big deal, but they want her to be a big WWE superstar deal. Mm-hmm. They want, when people look at her, to see a WWE superstar, and they're going to build that. They're going to make sure that reputation is whatever it takes, whether it's giving her multiple victories in a row or leaving Ty Dillinger in her locker room so she can do whatever she wants to him. That's what's going to happen. And because he's the perfect 10. Just
and he's going to give her the 10.
Yeah. Anyway, so my point in all this is that things are going to work out for that. I don't believe they're going to spend all that money, have one WrestleMania appearance, and then just go, whatever happens, happens. No, this is a project. They're going to continue working on it. This match.
For being a project, and going out there on your first match and doing as well as she did, that's pretty amazing considering there are people that just never get it, or it takes them so long to get it that by the time they do, it's irrelevant at that point. So this is somebody that has been training for not very long. I know she's been training in secret for a while before they announced her signing and all that stuff. She's been training with some of the best, but it's like, listen, she's coming from a different world. Sometimes that transition doesn't click over. Just because you're coming from MMA to wrestling. But I guess my whole point in this is, like, let's give her credit for that. Let's give her credit for having the emotions down, for having some of the little things were down there for her. And some of that stuff, you don't get that right off. And she's stiff in some places, and there's the mess up on the T-bone suplex, which I think is a mistake on both women's parts. Aaron can complain with me all he wants to. Me and both have been, both he and I have been in there. We know that happens. But I just, like, when you're trying to do things in your head, let's think about that. She's still thinking about this stuff. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Sean. But my issue is not so much in terms of how she handles herself in ring. She proved tonight that she can handle herself in ring. But I think as soon as the WWE, and I know you mentioned this on the chat, that she has signed a full-time contract and everything. Yes, I get that. But even within this whole WrestleMania lead-up, she didn't show up every night. But if they do not treat her like any other women's wrestler, if they treat her as someone special, the fans will turn on her like that.
I am not sure if I completely agree with that at this point.
I disagree with you completely.
Is somebody special. That's the thing. She is somebody special. I know she's saying that she wants to be treated as one of the girls and one of the normal wrestlers, but you can't. You just can't. It's Ronda Rousey.
That. Yeah, I get that, but you're coming from the MMA side where, you're not used to having to come in every week. And I get that. But wrestling fans expect you to show up every week. And when you have this sort of part-time schedule like Brock has had, fans are going to turn on you and say, you're if she's coming in as just purely a special attraction, that's one thing. But as soon as she says, I want to come for as soon as she says, I want to go for a title, and she's not showing up every week, the fans are going to turn on her like that.
I think first of all we got to remember that she's coming in with fanfare that is unlike any other women's wrestler that they've had. She's coming in with already doing movies, and she's going to do even more being in WWE because she's in the spotlight. Okay? So there's going to be times where she's going to be gone. I don't think that that's going to matter at all because she already passed the first test. She passed the first test that mattered, which was in-ring. The rest of it will come. Hold on, Brandon. Hold on. The rest of it will come, and the fans will continue to embrace her even more because she already passed the test that everybody was expecting her to fail, which was suck in the ring, and then, we get to laugh about the fact that they signed somebody that sucks. And no, she went out there. Yeah, now, wait. Let's go have our first singles match, and let's go have other kinds of matches. Obviously, that needs to come. But again, to be in there with a Kurt Angle and a Triple H and shine through, and let's be honest, Kurt Angle looked bad. He looked slow at times. Triple H and Stephanie did one hell of a job putting Ronda over, too.
Stephanie's facial reactions were just ridiculous.
She's always been great at that.
Great.
On
She's
point.
always been fantastic about that. But
I mean,
the part where Triple H almost punches her and she freaks out, it was like, wow, that was great. And it's just, and the announcers did a good job with calling back to the table spot from last year. But it's just, I just want to give that point that I think we're belaboring this too much of, well, Ronda, is she going to be full-time? Is she not? Look, the crowd doesn't care right now. They were chanting for her, and this is the WrestleMania crowd that will chant. They will just absolutely turn on you for whatever. They were chanting for her the entire time. She went out there and proved it. When you get to the regular crowd, they're going to be so in awe of the fact that Ronda Rousey's in their freaking building. That's not going to matter. I just think we're just overblowing this a little bit.
I disagree with that because, it's at Mania. Tomorrow, if they're still cheering for her, then I'll agree with you. But,
yeah, but at that point, you got to think that tomorrow at the Raw after Mania, that's the hardcore crowd. That means absolutely little compared to the rest of the year in terms of reactions. I mean, they started the fandangoing, and that died off real quick.
That's the fan that those are the fans that you need to get over.
No, you need to get the everyday. You need to get the fans in.
The ones that are going to be booing just like they are for Reigns.
But hold on, this is the thing. You don't need to get those fans over. They're watching every week. They're doing everything. They already chanted at WrestleMania. They're not going to all of a sudden boo on Raw. The fans you got to get into her are the ones in Green Bay and, They're
going to be cheering for her regardless.
No, they're not. That's the point,
Yeah,
though.
they are because they're going to be thinking, oh, it's an MMA star.
Not everybody that watches wrestling likes MMA.
Yeah.
Most of the casuals do.
As a member of the same chat, we can all attest that not everybody watches wrestling likes MMA.
UFC has started to go down the. I mean, they've made themselves a laughing stock as the years have gone by. So I mean, there's a reason why Fox is fighting for WWE more than UFC right now. Okay, and it's not just over money. It's the way that UFC has made themselves look recently.
Yeah.
So,
but let me just say this in terms of the overall product, especially with how they've been pushing this whole mixed match challenge and whatnot, moving forward. They better decide on one rule set or the other because I don't like the fact that they're that the rule sets are made at whim based on whoever's in the match.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they need to fix that. Right? They need to figure it out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Triple H, Ronda Rousey could attack or he could attack Ronda Rousey no problem, and then as soon as Kurt Angle jumped in the ring and was about to attack Stephanie, then, the ref was going to stop him. No, you got to have it one way or the other. It can't be, both ways. And same on NXT, same on Mixed Match Challenge, same everywhere.
Yeah, unless the rules are stipulated differently. I agree. I think they need to kind of come up with a standard that they have kind of muddied the waters with right now. And let's see if they do. A lot of the stuff we're talking about right now is speculation in the future and all that. So when the future gets here, we'll know more about that. But I think just kind of sum this thing up, I think overall this match was not supposed to be very good. It was supposed to be kind of, an attraction, and then Ronda Rousey's supposed to show up and not do great. All that was not what happened here. You got Triple H and Stephanie really playing mind games, really doing a great job. Then you have, Kurt and his, doing his stuff, but just, being old man Kurt. But I think the most important thing is Ronda Rousey did look good. She did a great job ending this match. She made it all, look very vicious and all when she did the whole breaking Stephanie's arm thing. I think it worked out, and I think it left people with an impression. So tomorrow, or actually people are probably watching today, sitting around the water cooler are going to be talking about that, and that's going to be something WWE's happy about. So
just purely on the match on its own, this match very much in the beginning of the match for the first 15, 20 minutes of it played that whole role of especially after the last two matches going into it, said, oh, we're going to continue to screw you guys over by having Triple H and Stephanie win this. And then after that, they flipped the script and had Ronda get dominant and get control and win this match, which was great.
Exactly. That's what they needed to do. They did just that, and it looked good. So
does anybody think that... Because I thought about it for a little bit. I understand that Ronda gets special rules because it is also about how Ronda could legit fight with a lot of the guys, right? Mm-hmm. But I almost felt like we have seen Triple H kind of give a little bit of a push towards he himself wouldn't necessarily be totally against intergender wrestling.
Well, that's the thing.
And I wonder if him doing so much for the portion where Ronda went after him, and he's done that before, where he was the one that went through the table and everything else that was Elimination Chamber. So I wonder if that's a little bit of a push towards that Triple H is kind of trying to gauge the fans' reaction and say, how are we on intergender wrestling? Would people think that that's okay? Maybe that be something for Ronda, for Nia Jax, for some of the other ones to, okay, you can go against the men to give you something else to do besides just win women's championships.
I certainly hope so, but considering what we saw in the mixed match challenge, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was the one that was writing most of that stuff. Considering what we saw in that, I feel like he's mostly gonna just deal with that himself, only if he's in one of those matches. We've seen it in NXT. Selena Vega is able to attack anyone she wishes, but the men can't do anything to her. Mm-hmm. And that allows, Andrade Almas to win all of his matches. Luckily, last night or on Saturday, he did not. But, we've seen that already on NXT, which he has complete control over. So I don't think that that's going to happen in the near future unless he completely flips the script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting conversation, and I think that we may see that in the future, and they may not still do it, even though Triple H may really want it because of, well, let's be honest, there's sponsors out there, and there's different people who may look at that in a negative light, but it's definitely a great question, and I think in time we'll definitely get that answer because Triple H will be in charge, and all these things that we think are going to happen may or may not happen, so... let's move on to the next match here, guys. We've got some interesting ones still to come. We've got definitely a big match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship belts where the Usos come down to face the New Day, which you got to love the fact that they had little pancake people running around. Pretty funny. And then, of course, the Bludgeon Brothers show up.
I love the term pancake people.
I know. I'm just going to be dreaming that all night.
That felt like such a Vince thing. Like, hey, let's get midgets in here.
Yeah.
Well, of
All
course.
right, let's do it.
This was Vince's last. It seems like this was Vince's last hurrah as the creator of Mania. As like, you know what? I'm gonna give them the best card they've ever seen, but I'm gonna screw it up no matter what.
Yeah. In this matchup, though, I've got to say, we had, the Usos look pretty darn awesome at times because of all the super kicks and all, and the New Day did their thing, but really, this was about the Bludgeon Brothers. We kind of predicted it was going to be about the Bludgeon Brothers. It was about them. They get the titles. Oh, I can't say I'm pleasantly surprised, I guess. I don't know. I'm okay with the guys, but I'm not overwhelmed with happiness, Brandon.
I mean, I'm not really all that surprised. This was one of those matches that I kind of saw. This was one of those matches that I was like, I saw that what was coming. I was okay with what was about to come, and it actually happened. This was honestly, surprisingly, one of the few matches that I predicted was going to happen the way it did, and it actually did happen the way it did. Because I think just about every match, with except maybe one other match, actually ended differently than I was predicting.
Well, I personally, talking about this match, the Bludgeon Brothers winning the title, I honestly believe that this is setting up for Mark Wald earlier asked who are some of the people you think might get called up from NXT. And I think this title victory by the Bludgeon Brothers perfectly sets up Authors of Pain debuting on SmackDown to challenge the Bludgeon Brothers for the title. So I'm totally okay with this, but this is my prediction.
I feel like we predicted that several
Sean.
times.
Shut up, Sean.
No, I'm just saying. I feel like we've said that several times and they don't come up. So
They
I
will
will
this time. They will this time.
Yeah.
Just because I really can't. Look, I love Luke Harper and all that, but it's just like this Bludgeon Brothers thing. Just I don't care about it.
Terrible gimmick.
Great
This-
theme song.
This was
Great
the
theme
match
song.
where I was just like, whatever. Who cares?
I disagree with that just for the reason of something we'll talk about later.
No. At the end of the day, I mean, I get it. They want Rowan and, Harper to do well, and I want them to as well. Like Sean said, big Harper fan. I think a lot of the guy. If it was outside of the gimmick, I would be so thrilled, but the gimmick kind of brings me down a little bit, and I really want to see the Authors of Pain, like, Robert's talking about here, come and do just that. Take those titles away from those guys, because that would be something new and something really, really fun to see. But at the end of the day, you have the Usos who are still doing well, putting on great matches, and the New Day as well. They're kind of in this mix, but it looks like that is what's going to happen, because these guys did well for themselves, but they don't seem so important. Even in this match, they didn't seem as important as you would thought they would be. So, but yeah, I mean, there you go. Bludgeon Brothers are your new tag champs. Anybody else have anything you wanted to say about that match?
I mean, I'll just say I'm okay with it, as long as either New Day or Usos, kind of get pushed to where they're at least respectable against the two, and maybe win the title back. I'm okay with it, especially with the tag team champ or the tag team or the SmackDown tag team championships. Definitely feel like teams are more respectable in that division. So I definitely could see the New Day coming up and beating the Bludgeon Brothers to get the tag team championships back, or the Usos for that matter. At least this isn't Raw, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, I'm okay with them getting it, because I have a feeling that New Day or Usos will be able to regain it at some point. And plus, the Bludgeon Brothers, I'm perfectly fine with that gimmick. I don't see any problem with it.
I'll be fine with it as long as the Brizongo thing continues. So, but yeah. Looking at this whole thing, we move on, and we really haven't talked about the elephant in the room, and that is one John Cena. Throughout the night, we've seen him sitting in the audience, being a fan. Dear God, that was one of the most annoying things I think of this entire show was going back to John Cena.
I loved it. I loved the fact that he was just out there giving reactions.
Delete.
It's neat in a way, but I think there's too much that they could, and it did too much of it. I like the idea of a referee telling him something. He runs out of the, of course, the crowd and runs up the ramp, and of course that was following Asuka and Charlotte, so that was kind of funny too. But we have that situation kind of go down, and then later in the night, he comes out, his music plays, he's excited. And then he finds out from another referee, this match isn't going to happen. Taker's stuck in traffic or something. So anyway, they have John Cena really sad, depressed, going down the aisle. Lights go out. Crowd freaks out, thinking Taker's coming. It's Elias! This is the place where Elias shows up. Yes.
What a troll job.
I know.
Troll job.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I love the fact that he played House of the Rising Sun. Thank you, Elias.
I really wanted him to just be like, "Oh, you didn't like that, ladies and gentlemen, Wonderwall."
Yeah, now that
it's a song I really know how to play.
Yeah.
Man. Well, you've seen the YouTube videos and everything from the house show where he actually did Wonderwall with the Good Brothers and everything. So.
That's so awesome. I love it. But yeah, so we get Elias coming down, singing his songs and making John Cena feel unwelcome. John Cena leaves the ring, goes back to the audience, and then quickly decides he's going to make a return, beats the heck out of Elias, leaves Elias laying, leaves the ring again, going up the ramp. Lights go out again. And no, it is not, anyone else but The Undertaker. Yeah. I was kind of hoping it was Gangrel a little bit, but it wasn't. It was The Undertaker. Undertaker does make his...
I would have been down with hearing that Brood music again, though.
Oh, me too. Just to see Christian wearing the get-up again, too. But, no, I mean, I will say this. They did a great job at theatrics. Undertaker's, hat and gloves and everything in the ring. Next thing you know, lights go out, they're gone, they disappear. Then Undertaker makes his entrance here, and we'll get a match. And a match, I think, I will say, surprised me to a little bit, if I can say it that way. I'm trying to think of the right words for it, but I think their goal here was to showcase Undertaker in the best light that they could. It was not a long match. It was a match where really John Cena just kind of helped Undertaker look like he was back in the day a little bit. Not all the way, but a little bit back in the day. Undertaker gets the win with the tombstone. Same, old gimmick, and that's great. It's a nice rundown memory lane. I kind of felt like this was Vince McMahon saying, thank you, Undertaker, for everything you've done. You get to walk away on top. You looked great. All that good stuff. I mean, Sean, do you agree or disagree? I'm just kind of curious what you think.
It might have been makeup for last year and the Roman deal. It might have been a makeup for a lot of other things. It could have been a, hey, here's you're back kind of thing. It could have also been a foreshadow of perhaps you do have a legitimate John Cena and Undertaker match at next year's WrestleMania or something where they announce it pretty far ahead of time. And then it being the 35th one, that's where he finally says bye or whatever for good. I don't know, but it could have been for a lot of things. I like the fact they didn't belabor the point. You got to give John Cena credit, right? This is a guy that is in movies right now. Blockers is out or gonna come out,
and it's
pretty
amazing
soon.
From what I've heard from the pre-screen.
Yeah, it's really good. And he has no problem with going, yeah, let me just lose in about 5 minutes to The Undertaker. Like, the dude just took a job at WrestleMania after he kept saying he wanted his WrestleMania moment. Like, I mean, how much more can you ask for him?
I agree. I think you're right on that. And, it's really nice to see Undertaker looking good again. Let's be honest. And I think a lot of fans needed to see that because it was really sad the last 2-3 years seeing his body all broken down, seeing him just not be the same. It felt like we were back in time, and I really liked it. I appreciate what John Cena did. I mean, Robert, it like I said, it's just nice to have the guy looking healthy again.
Yeah, aside from at one point where he did, the usual Taker clothesline off the ropes, and he kind of just, the way he landed completely flat, it looked like it hurt, like it really hurt the way he landed. Aside from that one point that
I don't know that he can flip over like that.
Well, no, it wasn't the flip. It was just as soon as he landed on his shoulder, it looked like he was just like, and I don't think I was the only person that was cringing when he was coming down from the old school. Like how the hip would have reacted with him landing.
Yeah.
So, but no, he looked good. It was a relative squash match, and somebody like Cena in my mind, at least for me in my mind, was like more than happy and respectful to do that job for somebody like the Undertaker. So, that young gun needs that push. So.
Yeah, I like that. Brandon, what were your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, for what it was a good match. Undertaker comes in. I'm a little annoyed at Cena kind of breaking up the ending of what should have been, like I talked about before, if they were really going to end the streak like that, they should have ended it in a much more elaborate fashion, especially with Charlotte. She should have made a much bigger deal, but then, Cena had to ruin it. It kind of just felt like, kind of like what we were talking about with SmackDown recently with Charlotte and Bobby, where it was like, they would just interrupt each other's segments. It just kind of felt artificial. But, the match itself was okay. Cena is kind of the perfect guy to, put over Undertaker because, Undertaker doesn't really need to do all that many high-flying spots with Cena. Would I have liked to have seen him put over someone younger? Yes, obviously, but at this point it's kind of pointless for multiple reasons, but I'm okay with it. I'm kind of hoping that unless they have something specifically planned for him for next year with him putting someone younger over, I'm hoping Undertaker's done at this point.
Yeah. This is a nice way to end the day for Undertaker and move on to the next thing he's going to be doing, which is the podcast coming to you. No, I'm just So who knows what happens with Taker from here? But once again, it's a nice ending to a story if it is. So, but yeah, that becomes of us for that match. It was a nice little attraction here, squash. Let's move on to another big match that people were really looking forward to, and that is Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan back in the ring. Yeah, that's right. Daniel Bryan is getting back involved in not just by the standards of being in a nice little pair of clothes and being a GM. And, of course, they took on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and this was for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens' job. They were going to lose their job if they lost this match. And, we have a situation here where Kevin Owens' music is, coming up and they're waiting for the entrance. And the next thing you know, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens attack Daniel Bryan from behind. And they beat him down and beat him down good. And then they kind of put their attention on Shane. And we get, of course, Daniel Bryan getting back involved in the match. And throughout the match, some pretty decent spots here. But the end is the yes lock on Sami Zayn. Zayn taps out. Daniel Bryan gets to walk away with another WrestleMania win under his belt. And I think he looked pretty good in a match that, was a tag match. And not only that, one of the first matches he's been back. So really happy to see that. Would you agree or disagree, Brandon?
I mean, I would agree on that level of Daniel Bryan looking strong and all of that, and him looking like he can definitely handle himself in the ring. But purely looking at it on a storyline level, and Harry and Liz and I talked about it on the SmackDown review this past week, but I don't see where they go from here. Unless Sammy and Kevin are suddenly going to appear on Raw and say, "Oh, Stephanie hired us." Yeah. This felt like a pretty foregone conclusion that in spite of Daniel coming back, that Sammy and Kevin were going to win this match because of the stipulation. This just felt like, I don't see where they're going to go from here.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Robert?
I'm glad they didn't go with the sorry, I'm trying to share the show some more in other groups.
Oh.
I'm glad they didn't go with the predictable Shane McMahon turn. I'm not sure if I see Sammy and Kevin going to Raw because, at least not immediately, there's this rumor of that NXT is going to be part of this draft this year. From what I've been seeing, that they're going to be able to draft people from their main roster to NXT, and to me, not only is that awesome because there's a chance that like people like Ty Dillinger and Tyler Breeze might go back to NXT if true, that this is a way for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to still wrestle and be on TV, but not be in the WWE. They're fired from the WWE, but hey, look, they're back in NXT. So at least for a short while,
Yeah.
So
that would be cool.
I think it'd be
right.
hella interesting and highly entertaining. I mean, and let's be honest. I think we all agree with the ideas that the philosophy, at least, that you get called up to NXT or to the main roster from NXT, it doesn't work, you get released. Mm-hmm. None of us agree with that. Send them back to NXT. I mean, the Ascension, something like that team needs to go back to NXT. So
Ty Dillinger.
Ty Dillinger, because they're not doing anything with them. So I mean, I think there's something more brewing than just them going to Raw. I really do. As for the match itself, it was fun seeing Daniel Bryan back in. I mean, he got to do his signature spots, but I hated that Shane was getting one over on both Owens and Zayn for the longest time.
Yeah, it always kind of makes you feel a little awkward seeing that happen. I'm still not into that whole thing either. Your thought on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn going to NXT, I don't think it's a bad one. I think, you get a lot better as a talent when you're working with veterans, and I know Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would really help a lot of those guys out in NXT. I think as long as their bank accounts didn't change. All right, as long as that balance going in every week made them happy, I'm sure. You can't pay them NXT money anymore for sure. But no, I mean, I think there's a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline. It really, really are. And I think this match, shows us that, the results that we thought could happen, did. But not only that, Daniel Bryan looking good again. I mean, Sean, I expected Daniel Bryan to come in and look pretty decently strong, and that's kind of what they did here. But they didn't ask him to do overwhelmingly too much.
Well, he shouldn't in his first match back. I think, honestly, I could have done without the stretcher spot. I think it was overkill. There was no need for that, honestly. I get it that they were trying to get the crowd to get upset again at the fact that, you just gave us Daniel Bryan, you took him away again. Like, it's just not needed. You could have had Daniel Bryan get knocked out and just be outside for a little bit or whatever. You didn't have to take him away and then bring him back again. But other than that, he looked great, right? He went out there and did all his spots pretty much. I mean, I like the way that he's, other than, I'm assuming he's not going to do the suicide dive anymore. But other than that, he protected himself on the drop kicks in the corner where he's like flipping over where he's not landing straight on his back or on his neck like he used to. So that's smart on his end. I mean, he did say he learned a style where he could still wrestle his way without hurting himself. So it was good to be able to see that, and good to see that, let's see how much of a full-time return this is for him and how many matches he's going to have and all that. I'm just excited to have one of my favorite guys ever be back there wrestling the fans. Now you have that uber face that the fans can be behind, and you can do so many things with him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
The big question with that, though, will be, with his limited moveset, how much of an uber face will he be moving forward?
I think he's past the... If he just went in there and did yes the whole match, people would still be cheering for the guy like crazy. I think he's past that point of it doesn't matter what he does. They just want to see him go out there and do something. And,
True. Yeah, you're probably right.
In the long run, I think this was a fan favorite situation. All the fans got to pop, as the yes chants went down at the end of this, and I think it worked out okay. Still wondering about the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn thing. If it's NXT, if they make some deal at midnight with New Japan to pretend like they left and went to New Japan, I'm okay with that too. They just got to do something. What'd you say?
Or Ring of Honor.
Or Ring of Honor, yes. Hey, they kind of weren't the same.
Generico is back.
Yeah, I love the fact that he did get on his Generico Twitter again. That was nice.
What the hell are you
so let's
talking about?
see.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? Sami
Zayn?
They're not the same person.
Yeah, you're right, Robert. We're just gonna wink on that and move on.
Next, you're gonna tell me that
killing kayfabe here.
I know.
Killing it.
The next thing you're gonna do is tell me that Matt Classic is Cole Combatta. You're freaking nuts.
Oh no! Oh my! No, never.
Oh no, not at all.
No. The Curry Man is not. Daniels. No.
Brian Daniels
all
is
the
not
gimmicks.
Daniel Bryan at all.
God, you just.
Okay, so let's move on to the next match that I know you all cannot wait to talk about, which is Nia Jax taking on Alexa Bliss for the Women's Raw Tag Title. I'm going crazy.
Can we skip this one?
I know, because why I call it a tag title, because I can't even get my head around it. It's a Raw Women's Championship match, and we can skip it if we get through it quick. So let's just go through it really fast if you don't want to talk about it. Robert, I mean, at the end of the day, you got what you expected. Nia Jax wins. She cries. It's a nice feel-good moment for everybody who's been bullied. And I'm not making fun of that because
it should have been more of a squash. It should have been more of an absolute. It should have been a 30-second. Oh, you've been calling me blubber butt and all this stuff and calling me a fat whale. Oh, you just got your ass beat. Especially in 2018 with the bullying talk and everything like that. Nia should have absolutely beat the hell out of her. Alexa Bliss, as much as I love her and she's way more talented than Nia, she shouldn't even gotten a single lick of offense in this match. This should have been like almost Sheamus, Daniel Bryan levels of squash.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree. I mean, that's just fine. Alexa had that nice, the flying move to the outside, whatever. Just, it was a cool finish with Nia Jax going all the way to the top and doing the Samoan drop to like really make her be out and everything. It's just, you could have done that in about a couple minutes and really put home the story you're trying to tell and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You
guys aren't wrong about that. I mean, I think that it would be nice, especially to save some time and add some time to some other things on this show. That would have been fine. I think really it was about, making sure people understood that, Alexa Bliss was somebody. But you're right. If Nia Jax would have got the squash that fast, people really would have looked at her and said, man, she's dangerous again. Now we're sitting here saying, well, she's kind of dangerous. Alexa still got some offense, so she's not, unpenetrable. So,
Yep.
But Alexa got offense cheap ways, right? She was doing the eye rake and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is. Nia Jax is your new Raw Women's main champ for now.
Wow.
And he
Called the tag title both times.
I want to keep calling it tag title. I don't. What's up with that? I must be excited about one of the matches coming up. I think that's what it is, right? Because if anything else, I'm going to keep calling this thing the same old thing. But at the end, I mean, I'm just kind of curious with you guys, really quickly. Nia Jax as that champion. How long do you think she's got it? Because I really question if they're going to tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I think it'll be a little bit because the only two people that I could think are legitimate threats for that title are in a feud with each other.
Yeah. I mean, you may have a point there. So, it's just, yeah. I want them to at least give Nia Jax some shot at this thing and let her kind
of. I think it'll be a few months.
I hope so.
Until the whole Sasha Bailey thing is over, she will hold the title.
Yeah. I mean, that may be true too. So let's see what happens. But right now, Nia is a champ. Let's move on and talk about the match that I think this is going to be maybe a touchy topic for a lot of people. AJ Styles taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, and this was supposed to be a repeat of a dream match once upon a time. I'm not even going to say anything about this. All I'm going to say is AJ gets the victory here in this matchup. At the end, Nakamura does play the heel part by pretending like he's humble and kneeling and handing the title to AJ, and then low blows him and begins to beat him down. So Shinsuke Nakamura is now a heel. I just got to know all your thoughts about this, Sean. I know you're a big New Japan guy and you pay attention to, what's going on in that world for sure. You watched the original match and you've seen this one. What happened to you?
This doesn't hold up.
Nope.
This felt like a sort of just a placeholder match that to be able to have the heel turn that happens after the match. That's what this felt like. The heel turn was much more important than the match itself. The New Japan match was much more a moment where you didn't know right then, but you knew a little bit afterwards that both guys were leaving, and it wound up sort of feeling like the culmination of both guys' careers in New Japan and all that stuff. But I think it's just there was a lot to live up to for that match too. I also think that it had a lot of WWE touchstones on it. It didn't. I don't know. It didn't have. I got bored by it personally. It wasn't that entertaining to me.
And Randy Isbell makes a great point that it's because it started like 4 hours in, and it just didn't live up to the hype. Well, but
that's where it was always going to be, though. That's where it was always going to be. We all knew it was a 4 or 5 or 6 hour show going into it.
Yeah, I thought that match would have been. I thought the pacing and the placement of matches.
What Cody just said. That's what Nakamura has been this entire time after the first match at NXT. It's like he's not there. It's like his mind is somewhere else. He doesn't get motivated. Maybe this heel turn will motivate him.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
I think there's a reason behind that. And let me put my 2 cents in here for this real quick. And you can agree or disagree with me all you want. But this proved to me, between this and the Asuka match, proved to me everything that I've been saying for the past, year and a half. That I've been fearing. And everyone's been calling me stupid and an idiot and delusional and all you want to call me, but I've been proven right tonight. This is Vince McMahon's world, and he is a xenophobic douchebag who, he's a Trump tard. Simple as that. And we've seen it tonight. Simple as that. And if you want to disagree with me all you want, just look in the mirror. You've seen it tonight. That's all. That
disagreeing or not, though, let's just try not to get political.
That has nothing to do with why Nakamura is not motivated. Asuka's out there kicking ass, killing it in matches, okay?
Yeah,
Nakamura is
I disagree with it. I disagree with the decision and result, but
believe that she's gonna be able to prove herself because Triple H, because Triple H believes in her. She thinks she's gonna be able to prove herself to Triple H enough where he's gonna be a man enough to, step up and say "fuck you, Vince." Shinsuke has gone beyond that. He knows he has no hope on the main roster.
He won the Royal. Look, listen. He won the Royal Rumble. They didn't treat him the best since after he won the Royal Rumble. I agree with that. In that he should have been on TV more.
Other than the Royal Rumble.
But he had matches in NXT that were just.
But
blah. They weren't.
We've already seen through multiple guides that it's a completely different animal because Triple H is in control of it.
What I'm saying is,
look at Ty Dillinger.
Vince doesn't control your motivation in your match, okay?
Yes, he does because
no, he doesn't.
Whether or not
no, he doesn't.
Win.
How many guys go out there and kill it, and it doesn't matter if they're the bottom rung of the roster? Nakamura knows he can do half-ass shit and be fine. That's fine.
Look at Dolph Ziggler.
Okay. Look at Dolph Ziggler. How many great matches Dolph Ziggler had?
Cashed it in for how many years now because he knows he's not going to get anything.
I would disagree. He's had good matches on Raw, and you're going, well, this dude, he ain't going nowhere, but he still cares about entertaining the fans.
But no one cares about him. Same with Bray Wyatt.
Nobody cares about him. People care about Nakamura. Mm-hmm. Nakamura knows he's cared about. That's
after a few months, after they realize that he's not going to get anything.
I feel like this should be a cup of tea, and I should be a frog at this point.
I feel like I should be in. Pardon the interruption. Just going ding, ding, mute. Yeah. Okay.
Look, the cream always rises to the top. People were saying this about AJ. What AJ go do? He went out there and proved everybody wrong, and he got better in promos.
So here's the thing. Hold on. Here's the thing.
Shane McMahon.
I completely disagree with the decision, the result to have AJ Styles go over Nakamura at this point because Nakamura did win the Rumble and everything was it was feel good. It felt like they were finally going to get behind him after he jobbed out to Jinder Mahal. I think 2 times in a row, maybe 3. I think it was only 2.
Yeah.
I thought the Rumble was like a turning point, but the Rumble did nothing for Nakamura. As Sean made a good point. He's been lazy. He's absolutely been lazy. This is not the king of strong style. This is the king of show up and collect a paycheck. I mean that, and you don't want that.
Which
guy,
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
He's older. He's like 40 now at least, right? But you don't put the title on somebody like that when you got a workhorse who's the same age, like AJ Styles, who has carried an entire brand. Now they should have given it to Nakamura. Just because the booking, the writing, everything led to it being Nakamura. But Nakamura did nothing to tell anybody that, you know what, give me the title. No, AJ Styles is still carrying SmackDown. And if you even ship him to Raw, he'll carry Raw. That's how good he is. And while I disagree with the result, I'm 100% on board with just AJ Styles still being AJ Styles and running the house that AJ Styles built in SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
if that's the case, that's one thing. I get that. But at the same time, you don't want the fans turning on AJ as a result.
Never will. They tried to turn him heel, and it didn't work.
I think the fans, if they see AJ as quote unquote Vince's boy after a while, because AJ is putting more work into WWE and seemingly, especially if they go along this route of, WWE guys versus indie guys, and AJ, because this is how it seems to me personally, where AJ has kind of, turned his back on his indie past and said, I'm a WWE guy now, and he turns his back completely on that past. The fans could easily turn on him.
But what fans are we talking about here? The casual fans love the shit out of AJ Styles, and those are the guys that matter. Why are we complaining about the small few that don't matter in the large?
This is the same quote-unquote small few that completely boo the you-know-what out of Roman Reigns.
And guess what? They still push Roman Reigns. So how much do we actually matter? What I'm trying to say here is,
I'm just saying,
AJ is a totally different animal than Roman Reigns. He is accepted by the fans. They love him to death. He's maybe not Daniel Bryan level, but he's almost at that level where it doesn't matter, face, heel, whatever.
But the more and more you push him, and the more and more you push guys, push guys to the side in lieu of him, the more fans are gonna jump off of his bandwagon.
No, AJ Styles.
Who were they pushed
AJ
to the
Styles
side?
is untouchable. AJ Styles is untouchable. That man is untouchable.
Not to mention he's going to retire in a few years.
Yeah, that man is untouchable. Yeah, I 100% disagree.
Look,
he could drop kick a baby in the middle of the ring, and the fans
I
are
don't know
never
about
going to
that.
I know
It's
it's hyperbole, but I mean, let's not forget that fans did cheer when what's his name drop kicked a fake baby. So,
yeah, Kenny Omega for drop kick the baby.
So
yeah.
AJ, you're right. He is kind of untouchable. He could have beat up the whole LGBT group tonight, and no one would have said anything.
Oh, okay, let's not.
I'm just going off on it. No, I'm just saying, let's be honest, okay?
He could have came out and kicked every one of those people in the face during Balor's entrance, and they still would have cheered him.
They would have got up and started clapping, like, thank you. Okay, so, no, in all seriousness, AJ Styles, he's up in age. He's doing this not only for the fans, but he's also doing it for his family. Shinsuke Nakamura, he came to America to do it for himself, to do it for his family, to do something that makes him big money. That's what they're at. Their motivations are probably different. Shinsuke can't be expected to live his life like AJ Styles. It's just not supposed to be that way. So I don't know the lack of motivation.
But Knock did that stuff in New Japan too, which is what bothers me. Like, people think that he came over from New Japan and he never did that and he's doing that. No, he did that in New Japan too. He had to be motivated in New Japan. Okay? And he does it in WWE. You got to have that. And I think this was kind of what the plan was of, okay, you're turning heel after this match. And this was sort of that match that they just had to promote the angle. And then the Nakamura AJ 2, when you have the feelings, when you have the people that are on one side and they're on the other, they're totally for AJ, and maybe you still have the Nakamura fans that are going to chant because his music is great, like Bobby Roode and all that stuff, but they're going to boo him. You're going to have more of a connection from the audience, and you're going to have that bigger match, and there's going to be more into that match. I think it was going to be always a much more difficult task to have that same type of match that they had in New Japan, which two faces against each other. Because remember, AJ was sort of always a heel in a way in New Japan. So
I get that part, but like, this is just kind of setting a bad precedent for WWE, where now for the smarkier fans, whenever you go into a face versus face match, it's always like, yes, I'm hopeful of this match, but I already know that the traditional face is gonna win, because 2 out of the 3 matches that happened, well, actually no, all 3 of the matches that we went into this WrestleMania of a face versus face match all three of them, the traditional face came out as the winner.
Okay.
And that just does not set a good precedent if you're going to try to do this trend moving forward.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, this match overall, though, I think we can all say, to sum it up, is a match that we were really hoping would come out to be a really big show stealer, something that really showcased both guys really well, and it came off a little flat. And
it came off as a big old flop.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that kind of disenchants a lot of people, and that's understandable. And not saying I'm happy at all about it, but AJ Styles is still a WWE champion. Robert alluded to it. Not a bad thing. Not a problem at all. Good Morning America is going to love having AJ Styles show up and be the WWE champion. So it's fine. It's going to, the world's still spinning, and I think it's just the disappointment that's really hurting us right now. So let's move on to another match, and I can actually use the word tag team, guys. It's not another, I can actually use that word. The Universal Raw, whatever you want to call them, the tag champs for Raw. The Bar actually came out and faced Braun Strowman, and they were in a little of a question mark themselves on who the tag partner of Braun was going to be. Well, Braun didn't even know. Braun comes out and says it could be you, or you. Goes in the audience and finds a little kid. That's right, a little boy named Nicholas. And so Saint Nick, I like to just throw that out there. Little Nicholas himself. He'll be Saint Nick when he goes to school. Trust me, they're going to love that guy. They have him, stand on basically the apron the entire match while Braun does this business, and the Bar get a little lick in here or there, but really this was about Braun Strowman just basically destroying the Bar. He wins the tag titles, so him and Nicholas are the tag champs now. I don't know how they're going to do this. I'll be honest with you guys. I was praying when the Nicholas got tagged in that he was some young prodigy in the world of wrestling, that he was going to take on Cesaro and just some DDT out of nowhere. I don't know. It didn't happen. But it really makes you question, are they making fun of the Raw tag titles, first of all? Second of all, what happens tomorrow night? I mean, does Nicholas show up, or did he even get a ticket to show up? Does he automatically get a contract? All these questions are running through my mind, Robert. What do you think?
I'm glad you asked me that.
Well, hold on. First of all, according to Randy, and he looked this up, the referee that was in the match, that's his kid.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Randy. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
I think he's also part of Make-A-Wish as well. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now that good for that kid. Cody Lee chatting with us right now said that kid will be a god at school tomorrow, which is great for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
If he went to school, unfortunately, I don't think he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
So this is the only reason I think
you might skip school tomorrow out of the euphoria.
The only thing WWE might do in this situation is because this kid's dying. I mean, honestly, there's no other reason to kill the tag titles like that. I wouldn't be surprised if this kid didn't make it to Raw. And I say that as a joke and also being serious. I just don't know why they would kill the tag titles, the division like that. I mean, it's bad enough they were having Braun destroy both the champs for weeks leading up to this, singly and in tag team, handicap situations. But I mean, I get it's a kid, it's a Make-A-Wish kid, but come on, man, is this anything better than Judy Bagwell? It's not. It's really not.
Like you just said. Yeah, this is really WCW type. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Half of this card was good. Half of the card just completely destroyed the entire division of whatever you want to talk about. Whether it's the SmackDown Women's division, whether it's the SmackDown regular division, whether it's the Raw Tag division. This WrestleMania just, or we'll talk about it later, the Raw main division. This WrestleMania, we talked about it before. It was so good. It looked so great on paper. And Vince basically just said, "Oh, I'm gonna make the greatest WrestleMania on paper and completely say screw you to everyone, and just throw it out in the trash."
Yeah, they should have had Medusa show up and throw those titles in the trash can, huh?
Pretty much.
I mean, I could see that point because I mean he's not a contracted superstar, so how can he be the champion? I mean,
I don't know. I think it's one of those with we'll get who the real person is tomorrow.
No, we won't.
Whether it's Lashley, whether it's Dean Ambrose, whether it's somebody from NXT, I think it's like. Honestly, I don't think WWE really knows what they're doing with Braun right now, and they were just
No, they don't, because Vince doesn't know because he's an idiot.
But Braun is crazy enough, and you don't want to mess with these hands that he could legit take out both guys by himself.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I hope everybody caught that comment from Randy Isbell of Nicholas has won more Mania matches than the Usos.
No.
That's why I started. Right? That's why I started busting up right now.
That's great.
But it's just like look. Honestly, the Undertaker just came back with lightning shooting some clothes. So I mean, can we really get too crazy about them having a kid win a tag title that may not even show up tomorrow? Or maybe it's a different kid every time, or whatever. I don't know. But apparently it doesn't matter because Braun just stays over because people love him that much. So
I personally would love if Braun turned on the kid on Raw and gave him these hands.
See, I was hoping for that. I was personally hoping for that. That the kid was gonna get pinned and Braun was gonna
even better. Tomorrow night on Raw. They just show him outside the arena, and they're giving him a hard time. I don't have a ticket, but I'm the Raw Tag Team Champion. Sorry, kid, you can't come
in the middle of the ring. In the middle of the ring, Braun's just gonna be like, "I'm gonna do what your parents should have done a long time ago and give you these hands."
Somebody made a great comment that they had Cena leave too early. Imagine if Cena he would have walked by Cena and said, "Hey, let me get one of these kids out here instead of having John frickin' Cena as your tag partner." Or you know what? I feel bad for No Way Jose. He was sitting out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And he got shafted.
It's part of the gimmick. No, it's fine. It's part of the gimmick. Braun was looking for a partner. He saw Jose. He's like, no way.
Great job, Robert. I didn't even think about that one.
Exactly.
No, I mean it's kind of funny because they did have NXT guys out there, and I'll be honest with you, I never thought it was gonna be a kid. I really felt like Johnny Gargano was gonna be the guy. I really.
Let me just say real quick when it comes to NXT guys, Tori said this last night when it came to Takeover. EC3 looks like the Situation,
which is good because that show's coming back. It's topical at least.
You shut your mouth.
I don't enjoy the show, but it's still topical, which is a first for leave it to Triple H to actually be on point with topic compared to Vince McMahon in the main roster. So
because Vince likes to do things that were popular 6 years ago. Yeah. So. But yeah, I mean, we have this situation now. I'm really looking forward to Raw for this reason, to see what does happen with those Raw tag titles, and to see if Nicholas does get the opportunity to show back up, and what they do to really honestly kind of further that division. Let's be honest, that division has not exactly been lighting the world on fire. They got some good tag teams, but who's going to step up to the plate now that it's Braun Strowman with the tag titles? So. Lots of questions to be asked there, and I'm really...
hold on. We have someone in our staff chat that Cedric, who is from Puerto Rico, and he watches a lot of the Spanish stuff, and he was saying that Hugo Savinovich, the former Spanish commentator for WWE, he now does AAA and stuff like that. He said he actually uploaded a video saying that WrestleMania was ruined by the fact that the kid was there, that it ruined everything that WrestleMania stood for by the fact that the kid's presence was You know.
Wow.
I was like, well, I don't know about going that far. Like, I get it. Like,
I can see it.
If you're a tag team wrestler, especially if you're one of the tag teams in the back, you probably weren't digging that too much.
I mean, I can
let's be
totally
honest.
see it because, I mean, granted, most of us who have watched WWE for the last, 6, 7, 8, whatever, what have you years, we've gotten used to it by now, but some of those who have watched more indie and more, Lucha Libre and New Japan type stuff, WWE really is an embarrassment to wrestling at this point because it really isn't wrestling anymore.
It's also hasn't claimed to be pro wrestling for a long time. It's sports entertainment.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying for those who have watched other wrestling promotions and who still think of WWE as a wrestling promotion, it really is an embarrassment.
Yeah, they focus on the E a lot, and that's their focus.
But they call it sports entertainment for a reason, though.
The W.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But that's how Vince does it, right? I just, and he focuses much more on the E part, and it's gotten him how far now? I mean, look.
Well, the irony about this, though, and I mentioned this on certain broadcasts, like the SmackDown, or not the SmackDown, on the Raw review. He focuses so much on the E aspect, yet the most popular time frame of the E aspect he completely disregards.
Well, I mean, that's the way things work with him. And, looking at this whole thing, I mean, I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing for the fact that you've already got other places that just focus on pure wrestling. Ring of Honor, New Japan has their own gimmick. They're willing to do some of the craziest, silliest things like Yano. I think some of those Japanese fans probably were cheering Nicholas on tonight. I mean, let's be honest, because that's the kind of stuff sometimes they dig. And there's a little bit of this and that in WWE. They kind of try to cater to a lot of different versions of wrestling fans. Sometimes they don't always reach every single branch of that tree, though. So it is what it is.
I just wish we got a few more Attitude Era type stuff.
Yeah, but once again, PG's going to stick around.
I know.
But let's move on. Let's talk about the Universal Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Can we not talk about it?
It depends on how fast.
True story on this one is I was at my friend's house watching the, watching WrestleMania, watching the event. I was there from the very beginning. I left and practically listened to and watched it as much as I can while driving home. My daughter held the phone. I kept my eyes on the road. And when we were at a stoplight, I would look down, and then it would be green. That's the most I saw this match because it was just this show went so fucking long, pardon my language, that it was just she had to go to bed. She had school. I mean, but it's. I'm glad Brock won. I didn't mean to cut you off, Gary. I apologize. I just had to get that point out there, man. But I'm glad Brock won because, for one, I mean, I think he loses tomorrow. I really do. I think he loses it on Monday Night Raw. But I'm glad because it proves that Vince, in my mind, is just a horrible business person at this point because he allowed Brock to play the UFC against him in terms of contracts. Vince, I think he won the title strictly because Vince was afraid of him going back to the UFC anytime soon.
Well, that's a big question going into this is, like, do you think, and, you're the best person to answer this, do you think he's going back, or do you think this is all like what happened in 2015 of, the rumors basically forcing Vince to overpay Brock like crazy in order to keep him in the WWE, and Dana basically playing the fool of, oh, I'm going to help you out, Vince.
Brock's probably not going back. He's got to. He's still under contract with the UFC. That actual tidbit of information was not presented until the UFC 25 years press conference on Friday. That we didn't know if he was still actually under contract, but he's still got to serve like 6 to 7 months of USADA suspension. So this was an entire ploy by Brock to get Vince to pay up and give him what he wants, which includes retaining the Universal title. I can't really. So that's my take. That's my take, guys. I can't really say much about the match. Like I said, I watched it while driving.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, the match was what it was. I think it was a typical Brock match. I don't think that you needed 6 F5s to beat someone.
When I heard Michael Cole say that on commentary while driving, I couldn't believe that.
That was a bit ridiculous. Like, look, other people.
Making sure that Reigns looks strong. That's all that was.
No, but it's dumb. It's like seeing, can we keep doing this to see if the fans will get behind Reigns out of sympathy? They won't. Just stop. Yeah. Just quit going over and over and over with the Roman Reigns. Look, I get it. There are people that like him. He does sell merchandise.
I like him.
He does have a look to him. He is a actual really good wrestler.
He's a main event wrestler, man. You can always count on him.
He's a WWE main event wrestler. He's perfect for that. The fans that go to these arenas, and they matter to a certain extent here, don't want to cheer for him. So either turn him, or what I think it is, Vince doesn't want the fans to eventually embrace him after he turns heel, is what happens to a lot of people, right? They turn heel and then the fans embrace him. He wants to go against the grain and prove that he made Roman Reigns and not the fans. And it's like, you can't do that, man. You got to go with the flow at some point. You keep going against the grain, they're going to go against you for other things, and that doesn't help you at all.
Yep.
Very, very true. And, in this situation, too, as we watch this match, I mean, you had Roman Reigns get color, and which is a little surprising. I didn't really expect that, to be honest with you, especially in the, main event of the whole thing, for them to do that, which, was, from my understanding, against the rules in New Orleans. But I guess WWE doesn't have that.
It's Brock and Roman, so
I know.
The rules don't apply. Same as Triple H attacking a woman.
I still can't believe in 2018 that commissions are still regulating sports entertainment.
And I agree. I know, it's weird.
I mean, technically, in the state of New Orleans, you have to be 18 to wrestle. So, Nicholas would have been in trouble there.
I want the bar to use that tomorrow.
Yeah.
They should. That's a great point. They should use that.
Should.
I just, I don't know. I mean, I think the Brock thing is interesting. How far are they going to go with this? How long is he signed up for? Did they sign him to a short-term extension until they figure out what they want to do? Well,
let me ask you this, Robert. When's his suspension supposed to be up?
He basically has to announce that he's entering the USADA pool, and he's got about 6 to 7 months left of his suspension.
Okay, so in theory, he could announce that he's in, and then, let's see, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So he could drop it at, SummerSlam and then have a few months to prepare for a fight.
I think he drops it at the next pay-per-view, personally. I'm not sure to who, because I think they're going to want to bring Brock in for the end of the year show. So the New Year's show. And that'll be right about the vicinity of the timeline. So.
I would say that just the last thing on the Nicholas thing, whoever it is that tweets out for King Maxwell is telling Nicholas, you better watch your back. So, we're going to have King Maxwell and he had a match at Impact. So, why can't he have a match at WWE? King Maxwell versus Nicholas. Make it happen.
Anything can happen on the Hardy compound.
I was going to say, isn't that Matt Hardy in charge of Max?
Yeah, Matt Hardy's the
Max Hardy's a genius. Or Max Hardy. Matt Hardy's a genius. I mean, he's a genius with that character, that whole world.
I would love to see it, those two guys having a match, Nicholas and the King Maxwell. Man, God, 3 match already.
They get the other half of the tag title.
Yeah, there you go. That would be awesome. Could you imagine that? Braun carrying around the King Maxwell everywhere? Anyway. Oh, man.
Brother
That would be golden. Yeah,
you become my babysitter.
Hey, we didn't talk about that. What about Bray joining the clan there after fighting with Matt Hardy for so long?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the few upsides of this whole show.
We talked about that a long time ago, Sean. Where the hell were you?
No.
That's when I think my volume might have gone off or whatever. But I think that's cool. I wonder where they're going to go with that now.
It was cool, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to find out where they are going in the storyline, how it's going to evolve. But I'll say this: it started to trend throughout the night where lots of hugging was going on. If you noticed that, I mean, Bayley must have been happy tonight because everybody was hugging.
Yeah, there was way too much.
Except for her.
Yeah, except for her, she didn't give many hugs. But I'm sure Nicholas will do the job when he gets backstage. So, well, I mean. Besides that, I mean, guys, you're sitting here, Brock Lesnar is still the champ. Let's find out tomorrow night on Raw. He continues to be the champ till the next pay-per-view or whatever. But yeah, Roman Reigns didn't win like a lot of people had predicted. And here we go. This is the basically summary of the entire show, and I'm going to let each of you.
A lot of swerve endings.
Yeah, lots of swerve endings, different scenarios than people expected. What did each of you think about it? We're going to go around the room and kind of give our final thoughts on the whole entire WrestleMania 34 card and also a rating, whatever you want to rate it, 1 to 10. What did you want to say? So, Brandon, we'll start with you, man. What did you think about the show and what did you rate it?
Oh, this should be fun.
Give it a...
I know, right? He's going to give us xenophobia.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm going to give it a 4.
That's higher than I thought.
Bret Hart special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gary kind of influenced me on this. I was going to give it a lower rating, but he said, all the swerves, I got to give them some respect for that. But most of the swerves were very stupid swerves because, it kind of destroyed a lot of people's momentums and, kind of made a lot of the fans kind of give up on this show very quickly. The Asuka loss, the Shinsuke loss, made a lot of these fans, and the fact that Jinder won the U.S. title, it made fans, by the time the Rousey match came up, which was only at 9 o'clock, I was already done, or maybe even 8:30. I was already done with this show, and I was like, this is going to be another drag out, boring, very Vince type, very, FU fans type mania. And, that's how it went for most of the night afterwards. The Rousey match was, surprisingly good. Some of the other matches following that, the Bryan match, while I didn't predict it to go the way it did, in a way it was surprisingly good. Although I'm curious to see where they go with KO and Sammy. But a lot of the matches was just like it was just cringeworthy.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, there you go. That is Brandon's take. Now, Sean, what did you think about the whole thing?
I gonna disagree with Brandon here. I think up until you had the last 3 or 4 matches, that's where it kind of tailed off. Before then, you were heading for one of the better manias of.
Why did Asuka lose?
Listen, because somebody lost doesn't mean that before the match. Just because somebody lost doesn't mean the match sucked. Okay, and just we all think of how somebody loses and wins differently, right? Whether you think that they matter so much or not, that streak had to end at some point. It wasn't going to go on forever, So I'm fine with it ending. It ended. Okay, let's see what they do with her after this. And let's not forget, a lot of these swerve things, this happens at WrestleMania a lot lately in the last, I don't know how many years, where they do things at WrestleMania and then on Raw they right those wrongs. Mm-hmm. Or they do the opposite. So, I think, let's not forget last year's WrestleMania sucked badly. So this was way an improvement to that one. I just think that when you get to the last part where you're saying, oh, Nakamura AJ didn't deliver, and it wasn't because Nakamura lost, it's because the match wasn't good. And you had Brock Reigns was whatever, and Braun, even without the kid thing, it was silly. And I the SmackDown tag title thing I didn't care about. The midget stuff at the beginning was funny, but all that. There were some matches, for the most part, though, almost everything else delivered in a way. Ronda Rousey and that entire mixed tag match delivered above and beyond expectations. I think that's sort of the match of the night, honestly, for me, was the mixed tag. Anaya had actually had her eyes glued to WrestleMania for the 2 hours. After that match, she had to go to bed because it was about 9. And she didn't want to go to bed. She said, Daddy, I want to keep watching it. I'm like, oh my God, you want to keep watching wrestling? When does that ever happen?
It was only 6 o'clock my time.
So, so it's like...
Honestly, the pre-show, the Cruiserweight title match was my match of the night.
Hey, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so happy though. Hey, Sean, I just want to say I'm so happy that and I actually got into this show, especially getting into like the mixed tag like you were talking about earlier, man. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. What was your number, Sean, you had for the show?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. All right, there you go. So we got a 4, a 7 out of 10, and now Robert, you're up, man. What do you think?
The Outsider, the bad guy. This was a tale of 2 WrestleManias to me. It started out very entertaining, like Sean was saying. It started out very great, very entertaining. I mean, even when the crowd was dead for the Cruiserweight title match, I still enjoyed the title match. The Battle Royals were whatever. Obviously, the women's was better than the men's. Sean also mentioned that earlier. The Matt Hardy Bray Wyatt thing, predictable, saw it coming, still entertaining as hell to see, especially even though I don't see much happening with Matt Hardy, even with this new gimmick, at least they're not just going to throw it to the trash. I feel like after the mixed tag match, just everything went downhill in my mind. I mean, AJ Styles versus Nakamura, maybe I'll rewatch it again later today or another day. But I maybe it's because I just overhyped that in my head and I thought it was great and fantastic, but it was very underwhelming to me. And the crowd being dead didn't help any matters. I just can't get over the fact that my match of the night was the mixed tag match. Ronda exceeded every expectation I had for her. Stephanie was fantastic with the facials. Kurt, even though he looked like he was in a ton of pain, Triple H still held everything together because Triple H is the fucking man. He really is. Man. I think there's just a lot of decisions made on this WrestleMania that were just made for shock value and for nothing more, without any idea of what to do in the future, and that really hurts it and hurts results for me.
But that's the thing, though. Like, these WrestleManias, Vince has said it himself right there about moments.
They're the end of the seasons and all that stuff.
They don't think about whether or not they don't. WrestleMania stands by itself. It doesn't go into the storyline.
I agree, though, but it does affect my decision. And I mean, like I said, it's a tale of two WrestleManias. I'm firmly in the middle at a 5 out of 10. I'm firmly in the middle on this one. Firmly in the middle. Better than last year? Absolutely. Last year sucked so bad. But I mean, coming off of like the last real major pay-per-view I saw for them was the Royal Rumble, and the Royal Rumble I absolutely loved. And this is just a hell of a downfall for me when it comes to one of their major ones. So, yeah, 5 out of 10 for me. And you know what? Since you're the host, Gary, I'm going to ask you now.
All right.
Same questions, man. What'd you think about Mania, and how'd you score it?
You know, you guys have said a lot of the things I would probably say, so I'm going to kind of go in for my favorite moments, and you guys did mention it. I think Ronda Rousey, her outstanding performance in a situation where everybody wanted her to fail. I really felt that way. I felt like everybody was just kind of waiting for it, and for her to over-exceed, it really helped the show. I think it added something to this show. I think it was cute and fun, the whole Braun thing, going finding the kid, but I don't know how I really like that took so much time out of the show. I think they kind of wasted time in the show where they could have added some actual wrestling or added some other things to the show to make it better. The pre-show was okay. The Cruiserweights did a great job, but the rest of it was just kind of eh. I just kind of felt kind of like you, Robert, a little bit here. I felt it was the tale of two different stories, and it just. I'm going to give it a little bit above the 5. I think I'm going to 6. I'm going to 6 because I think Rousey gave us something to care about. I also think that, yes, Asuka lost, but I think Charlotte winning was not a bad person for Asuka to lose to. And it was not a bad match either, I don't think. So I think 6 out of 10 is fair for me, personally. And my favorite moment of the night, I'll have to say, is Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance. So... really thought that was fun.
Oh, yeah, the Alice Cooper guitarist.
Yes.
Playing him in.
But all of that work was all for nothing.
I love the fact that they need to keep that. Play the guitar entrance more.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great. So, once again, I think WrestleMania 34 had its ups and downs, but they definitely made it feel powerful. They still made it feel like it was a big deal, despite the fact that the endings to everything didn't work out the way we thought it should. So
it was still WrestleMania. I had a great time hanging out with my friends, drinking and enjoying myself. And Randy Isabel, as he just pointed out right now in the comments, hey, no musical performance. Yay!
Yes.
An upside.
Thank God. I was so worried Kid Rock was going to have a 30-minute set.
I was hoping he at least
I was scared that when they didn't announce Kid Rock during the Hall of Fame thing, that he'd be last and it'd be him performing. I'm like, oh God.
Or I wanted him to play the Undertaker down. But then once Triple H and Stephanie came out on their bikes, it was like, okay, yeah, I guess we're not getting the American Badass.
That was the one thing I was surprised that I was kind of unfortunately surprised about, was that we didn't get Biker Taker.
I know. It's kind of sad.
Why does everybody want Biker Taker? Y'all didn't like him when he was around.
I like him.
I disagree. I actually enjoyed him.
Oh, man. Yeah. I was indifferent. I liked him either or. I don't really care. But it was fun. So, but yes, that's WrestleMania 34 for all you folks. We hope you've enjoyed tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I once again, appreciate and thank Robert for joining us tonight. Make sure you go check out MMA to the Max. It is a great show. If you've never listened to it, go check it out. Learn yourself some MMA. If you don't know anything about the world, go find out what's great about it. And also, just have fun. Robert does a great job, and it's really, really cool to get a chance to know Robert. Me and him, haven't had a lot of communication, but, he's a good guy. I know him. And, of course,
Appreciate that.
I need to join you on one of these shows at some point.
Yeah, y'all have to team up one night. I can't wait to listen to that episode. As soon as I hear that episode, it's going to be gold. So Brandon, make sure you go check out Brandon Biskobing. Not only does he join me for Monday Night Raw and the NXT, but he also does SmackDown Live and 205 Live. He does a great job in all those shows, and he's just this is his gig. He's a reviewer, and he does a wonderful job. So thank you, Brandon, tonight. And Sean, like always, buddy, it's been a lot of fun. And make sure you go check out on the W2Mnet.com. Don't forget that website. Go check out all the great podcasts. Sean does video games to the max. Sean does soccer to the max. And Sean does a lot of other shows. So make sure you go check out all the great content that's out there and, of course, offered. All of us are doing many different things on W2Mnet.com. And there's plenty more of us out there. Trust me, you haven't even touched the base of what we have here. This is just a little bit of the group. We've got a whole group out there for you guys to go find. You love sports, perfect place for you. If you like video games, you like wrestling, heck, you like entertainment, WTMNet.com is the place for you. Make sure you also go hit that subscribe button and rate and review while you're doing it over at WTMNetwork.com, or WTMNetwork, not .com, WTM Network. Get that right. Make sure you hit that iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you find your podcast from. Please go do that. The reason I always stress it is because once you hit that subscribe button, you never have to go search us out. All these podcasts I just told you about, they're in your dock, ready to go, in your car, in the office. I don't care. You're on your jog. They're right there. You don't have to worry about it, and you're going to have a great time. Make sure you also go check out the NXT TakeOver New Orleans show. That's right. That's coming at you hot and fresh. We're about to cover that actually right after we do this. It's going to be a lot of fun and really excited about doing that show. So another great one for you guys. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you also, once again, give some love over there to all the podcasts over at WTMNet.com. But until next time, guys, we appreciate you and we thank you so much. And we will catch you all down the road. The previous podcast has been an original W2Mnet.com production. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.